MJD Beats.
Live on the National Sports Studios from Spreaker.com, you are listening to In the Paint with Jordan Hunter and your host, Cameron Sadeghi.
Hello and welcome to In the Paint. Alongside Jordan Hunter, I'm Cameron Sadeghi, and we've got a lot to talk about in the NBA, from early season MVP candidates to who is the best team in the East, who is the best in the West, who should get traded, who is an elite coach. We'll have all the answers, and we'll have a lot of scores and updates for you today here on In the Paint. Jordan, it's been exciting to start out the year. What's impressed you so far?
Impressed me has been just the way some of these teams are playing. You look at the way the Warriors are playing on a 15-game win streak. You look at the way Houston's playing without Dwight Howard recently. The way the Bulls are still keeping up, even though they've been destroyed by injuries all season long. From Rose to Noah's missed a lot of games. Butler missed a few games. Gibson and Gasol missed a couple himself. And it's just a way to see these teams get over the adversity. The Cavs have come out of nowhere, winning 8 of their last 9. And everyone knew they'd get back on track after the slow start. But it's been a pretty good and interesting NBA season.
Yeah, it's been really good to see all these kind of young teams get going. Toronto, Golden State, all these young teams have done a really good job. And you know, we've had some pretty good emotional moments too with John Wall. The post-game interview, that was pretty good, and it just seems like it's been a great year so far in the NBA with all these young teams and teams that we typically don't see at the top. I mean, we haven't seen Golden State at the very top in a long time, so it's been really cool to see that for all of the teams and just the league in general in the NBA. Let's start out with the most surprising team so far in the NBA. Which team has surprised you in the early part of the season?
Well, starting with the West, a team that surprised me in terms of where they are in the standings is actually my hometown, Sacramento Kings. They've kind of fallen off a little bit, but they started off the year really hot. People were talking playoff team, top 5. I said, you're out of your mind. But them still sitting at 11 and 12, it's good for the franchise. You know, they've lost to Marcus for the last 2 weeks, so they've come down a little bit, but they start off the season really well, and that's why they're my early season surprising team on the West. And then the East, it has to go to the way Milwaukee's playing.
Mm-hmm.
From the worst team in the league last year, well, second worst to Philadelphia, to 11 and 12, which may not be, you know, the best record, but it's better than what most people were expecting. Most people were expecting them to have another horrible year and, you know, stack up another top 5 pick. But look at where they are now. They have young talent. Brandon Knight's really coming to his own. O.J. Mayo's played great ball. Jabari Parker's been probably the best rookie so far. And it's fun to watch Milwaukee. It's fun to see Jason Kidd coach.
Yeah, I mean, those are 2 great picks. In the West, I'm going to go with Golden State because I basically said they are a 6th seed, pretty much. And I think they're going to be a top 3 seed by the end of the year. The way they're playing, Steve Kerr, their offense has gotten more fluid, more crisp. Everyone's sharing the basketball. Everyone's a threat on that team. Defensively, they're the same. They're, you know, good help defense, but offensively, they've gotten much better because of Steve Kerr and, you know, the improvement we've been seeing with Curry and Thompson has been pretty special. So I have to go with Golden State. And then you look at the Eastern Conference. I'm going to go, you know what? I'll go with the same pick you made. I'm going to go with Milwaukee because they're a team that nobody really believed in with young talent. But Kidd has molded them into a possible playoff team, which I think they will be. So The Milwaukee Bucks, they've been playing great basketball and they've been playing great defense. It's been very entertaining to see them.
Yeah, one thing I like that it's interesting the pairing of all these young guys in Milwaukee and Jason Kidd, a young coach, but he's also recently played in the NBA 2 seasons ago, so it's like he has that old man's game, but he's still a young coach. So I really like the pairing. I think it fit way better than with Brooklyn, a bunch of older veterans with a coach like him. But yeah, the coach and player pairing I think is perfect for such a young Bucks team.
Yeah, it's definitely better in Milwaukee. I mean, in Brooklyn, it just felt like Garnett was yelling and screaming at him every second about what play he didn't draw up. So it seems like this is much better for Milwaukee. How about Toronto? I mean, I said they were going to be number one in the East. So far, that prediction is turning out to be great for me. Hopefully, it will turn out great at the end of the year. So, will Toronto stay number one in the East?
Toronto, they're a fun team to watch. You see Terrence Ross jacking up threes, just constantly, just jacking up threes. Kyle Lowry providing a huge spark for them without DeMar DeRozan, who'll probably be out for another 3 weeks. They say he can't move yet on his torn groin. And you look at their games coming up, and it's a pretty nice schedule. They got Indiana, New York, Orlando, Brooklyn, Detroit, New York again. Those are their next 6 games. That's going to span over another week and a half. So those are all easily winnable games for this Toronto team. Then they hit a tough stretch with 4 road games at Chicago, Clippers, Nuggets, and then at Portland, and then at Golden State and at Phoenix. Tough 6 road games. I think that's where they hit the bumpy patch. By the time DeMar DeRozan comes back, I see them as a top 4 team still.
I still think they're a number 1 seed.
Oh,
I've been on this bandwagon for quite a while now, and I'm not going to jump off of it too soon because they have an easy schedule coming up, but I know they don't have a lot of star talent, but when they buy in and they all believe in this one common goal and they've been playing such great defense, I think we have to give a lot of credit to Dwayne Casey for keeping this team together even through adversity. And I think when you get DeRozan back, everything will be fine then. And Chicago, I still have a lot of questions. Cleveland at times can be inconsistent and they start turning the ball over. But Toronto is the most consistent out of those teams, including Washington. And I'm going to go with the consistency in the Eastern Conference. I'm going to go with Toronto. And Toronto is going to finally prove to everyone in the U.S. media that there is actually a good team in Canada, and it's not fluky this time.
Yeah, you were talking about Cleveland and how they have a couple issues. When I was watching that game against OKC, which was actually a pretty good game, even though it didn't include LeBron, it seemed like Kevin Love wasn't being as a dominant player as we've seen in the past. You know, when he came to Cleveland, you thought he'd be able to put up points, but he's kind of fallen back into a really complimentary role, almost too complimentary to the sense of when LeBron isn't there, like he was last night. It seemed like Love was kind of lost, didn't know what to do. When we know he can score in bunches, can easily be the best player on the team. So that's a little troubling for me because there are going to be games where guys are going to be injured, and to see Irving's going to get his, but just to see Love not feel comfortable in the offense was kind of troubling for me.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like he's integrated at all into the offense, and I think they're still working it out. But everybody keeps talking about how great Chicago is, but to me, there's going to be a point where they're just not going to have enough gas in the tank. I mean, they still... Okay, Derrick Rose is injury prone, and I feel really bad for Derrick Rose. No, I really do. I don't like it when people make fun of him. Pau Gasol, can he really keep this up? I mean, can he really keep this up? I know he's putting up ridiculous numbers.
Great numbers.
Yeah, but can he keep it up? their defense is always great, but who's going to be the offensive guy late in the season and into the playoffs? I don't know. I think if Rose can't stay healthy, why should I believe they're better than Toronto or Cleveland?
Okay, I agree with you. Without a healthy Rose, Toronto is better. But with healthy Rose, Rose is a really good player. I mean,
Yes.
he can't be the only player because you have Gasol, and we know Joakim Noah isn't the most proficient scorer, but he could still put some points on the stat sheet. He can still fill it up, sort of. He can get points. And you forget about Jimmy Butler.
Yeah, well, that's true. That's a very good point. And he's on my fantasy team, so that's really horrible of me to disrespect him on here. You're right.
And the one thing, though, Toronto, I mean, they have Kyle Lowry, who's a great defender, but they don't have another really defender, a guy who's a defensive specialist. Like a team I like to talk about with a few defensive specialists is the Rockets with Howard, Ariza, and Beverly. They have three guys who can lock down great individual defenders. I think Toronto's missing that besides Lowry. No,
there's that one bad guy on that team. His name's James Johnson. He's huge. He was even guarding Derrick Rose in the TNT game. He's that great of a defender. Please, let's give James Johnson some credit.
But what about the starting lineup? That's what I'm saying.
That's true. That's true. I'll give you that. But I think with James Johnson, you're going to have to play him in key situations in fourth quarter or key possessions. I think if Toronto wants to maximize their potential, they have to put James Johnson in for defensive purposes late in games because that's how they're going to survive. And whenever I look at Toronto, I just think, they're such a young team and they have this fighter's mentality. That's what I love about that team because they never give up. And I know that's so cliche and kind of over the top for me to say, but even if they're down by 20, I still think they can win the basketball game. I'm one of those people that whenever I watch Toronto, I'm like, you know what? No matter how much they've been struggling, they still have the killer instinct to win this basketball game.
Okay, from a team to the east to the west.
All right.
Golden State Warriors, probably the most impressive team in the NBA right now. Without David Lee all season long, Bogut's missed some games. Is this team a finalist contender? Can they make it past San Antonio, past Houston, past the Clippers, past OKC, and make it to the finals?
I don't believe it. And if they continue to play this way and they're this consistent, I think they could get to the finals, but I can't see it happening. I think sometimes they don't settle for the best shot in the playoffs. I mean, we've seen that in the past years, but now they have a new coach. So, and experience matters in playoff situations. And Kerr, I don't know if it just, to me, San Antonio's so good in the playoffs. The Houston, they've been there. Warriors, they need more experience. I don't want to give them kind of that finals berth yet, you know?
Yeah. They've been playing out of their mind. This win streak is crazy. They have such consistency with Curry and Thompson, but what I worry about is you face a team like San Antonio or a team who has the ability to take out Steph Curry out the game. They need a third guy. Hopefully it's David Lee when he comes back. But I'm just, that defense has been, the best in the league technically, but it's not going to hold up. We all know that. They're an average defensive team at best with a couple standouts in the starting lineup. But I like the Warriors. I really do. I like the way they play. Their fast-paced offense. Their carefree offense at that.
Yeah.
Maybe a little too carefree at times. But they're a playoff team. They're a Western Conference Finals team, in my opinion.
Okay. I mean, that's fair. I mean, I think they would go up against San Antonio because I still think San